proposition from an oil marketing company like Indian Oil. We are a Fortune 500 company, and we market oil, petroleum all across Ladakh and all across India, as you know. But as a corporate, our core job, which is basically to market petroleum products, right now we are here with a very unique proposition of fuel conservation, which under the aegis of Saksham and Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, the main objective of which is to preserve natural gas, petroleum products in Ladakh and all over India. The main objective of the initiative is to spread awareness towards conservation of petroleum, as we have already said, and to judiciously use this scarce resource. Which brings us to the core objective of today's conference, is that like Indian Defence Forces in Ladakh are one of the highest consumer of petroleum products. So close to 60% of whatever your requirements as per your DI is coming in terms of kerosene oil, which is primarily used for space heating. So if I want to give a figure to all of you, close to 500 crores to 600 crores we are spending on kerosene, specifically for kerosene, and 99% of that amount is used, or the fuel is used primarily for space heating.
In renewable energy since 1980s, we are the one of the first organization to introduce solar energy in the region. So in fact, we are the one of the pioneer organization in India who have started working in 1980s. Yeah. So some of our buildings constructed in 1980s are still working very well. Yeah. So why solar energy is important for Ladakh region is like the Leh town is situated at the elevation of 3,500 and the lowest point is 2,600 meters above sea level. In villages, the rural villages are at the 4,500 above sea level. The peak is like 7,680 above sea level. Temperature, if you see the temperature and rainfall profile, the average temperature is 24 degrees Celsius and the minimum average temperature is minus 13 degrees Celsius, and the average annual rainfall is 82.8 millimeter. And the ground temperature is a little different, but more or less like ground temperature always stays at the zero, and in summer it goes up and always back to the zero. But ambient temperature goes like drops down to around minus 20 to, yeah, minimum is minus 20, and in the summertime it goes to around plus 30.
First and foremost, I must appreciate the initiative initiated by the Government of India in the form of Saksham 2021, and also to the IOC for arranging this event today. In fact, I'm taken over by the courage of IOC for promoting such an event, thereby risking your own business. But this is the need of the hour, and at times we have to rise above our own interests. So yes, a program like this is very important because global warming is now the reality, and it is the high time that we should be debating now about the global warming and take it as a serious thing. We should also explore the conventional energies, using conventional energy, avoid diesel burning, and so many other things. Army should also contribute in geothermal activities. Geothermal has a huge potential in Ladakh. We have an expert in geothermal here. Solar energy is also there. Ladakh has a huge potential, but I don't know whether it is really a green energy. We are worried for the hazardous waste in the coming years. So whatever you're doing, I think your experts are here. What I'm trying to say is that everyone should take the responsibility, think very seriously. Don't just get carried away with what others are saying. We have to research more. We have to come out with a real solution.
Getting on with geothermal, what we have is if we go beneath the earth, something like 6,500 kilometers, our temperature is equal to that of the sun's. There is a misconception about geothermal, stating that geothermal is available only where you can see hot water flowing outside. And I would like to clear that misconception a bit. So we have three geothermal systems specified by the Department of Energy, United States, which is hydrothermal, ground source heat pumps, and then we have enhanced geothermal systems. The ground source heat pumps works something like this, where you can use the heat where you don't see hot springs actually. So if I'm standing here, I can dig the earth, say 5 to 6 meters, and I can produce that heat and use that heat, that temperature to heat or cool the building, because the temperature of the earth at that level beneath the ground is constant throughout the year. So you have a heat exchanger in this system, then you have pumps, and then you have coils. From where you have this temperature, the constant temperature running throughout the year. So if you are in summer, you can have cooling. If you are in winter, you can have heating for the buildings. Next is hydrothermal system. So this is what mostly the people are aware of when you speak about geothermal. You know? So maybe most of you officers might have visited Chumathang, Panamik, Temchuk, of course, and Puga, the most famous site in India actually. So what we have in hydrothermal is wherever you have faults and fractures in the earth, you have this hot magma beneath the earth which heats up the water, and then it comes out on the surface in the form of either spring, or you have a mixture of steam and water. So this is the hydrothermal systems. You can further use this for many purposes like electricity generation, or for district heating, or for greenhouses, or for spas, etc., depending on what temperature you are finding it.
Another advantage for Ladakh, Puga Valley, Chumathang will be the next, and also Panamik. So 3 places we are looking at. We will start with Puga. Advantage of this is full heat integration. Typically we are going to get the steam water at about 180-200 C in Puga area. We are going to use basically standards, this standard equipment to generate electricity that will take the temperature down from 180 to 200, let's say 180 to about 100 degrees C. That's where you will use steam turbines to get electricity. After that water, which will be at 80, 100, somewhere in that range, that water can be used for space heating, which is not the case at any other place. In most of the other geothermally active areas, that heat is just going waste in Gujarat or in Chhattisgarh. Here we are talking about having that 100 degrees go 180, 90, that can go for space heating. You will go to up to 40, 30 degrees C, right? So with that you can do a lot of things. Greenhouses to get fresh vegetable all around. Space heating, you will have tremendous use of that energy and so forth. And then whatever 30 to 40, that also can be put into into rivers upstream of hydroelectric dams, and that can melt some of the ice during winter time. In winter, the hydroelectric dams, I am told, run at 10% capacity in Ladakh. So that, because we will put this 40 degrees Celsius water and melt some of the ice, and also our flow, that will increase your production of hydroelectric power also. There are a lot of things that can be done with this hot water, basically 80-90 degrees. I think Iceland, for example, most of the houses get two water supplies, one normal as we say, and other one is hot water. How feasible that is, but if you have big barracks or army, we can have a pipeline going from Puga, or we will, the next part will be probably we'll do it in Chumatang as well as in Panamik area. So pipeline, there is already a pipeline. What we are proposing similar is already exists from Janbajan. On the other side of the border, they are already working and producing geothermal energy. Historically, the same United Nations consultant told India and China that this area is and you should go for geothermal. China went ahead, basically started with 1 megawatt, then 5 and 10, 20, and per hour information, again, none of this comes out officially. I think officially they are saying they are making 120. About 10 years ago, some published literature. Now we believe they are making 200 megawatt. And that hot water that I mentioned, that is going from by how many kilometers? 90 kilometers to Lhasa, and Lhasa uses that for space heating. For whatever reasons, India did some drilling. GSI has done some drilling, and then DRDO has also done some drilling. But I think the tools and equipments and so forth, or many reasons I can tell, we did not go ahead with the project at that time. Now, coming back to ONGC, you already heard we have drilled more than 12,000, 14,000 wells all over the country, and let me tell you that geothermal, in this case, in the case of geothermal, development of the field, estimation and the drilling, the initial cost, 80% of the cost is in drilling and 20% is in power production and whatever you want to do after that with the hot water.